like some type of sexual position?
Hey,
The French vanilla Cool Whip.
Speaking of cream whip and Reddi Wip, did I ever tell you about the time when Don's grandma found a can of Reddi Wip in Don's Mason's top underwear drawer?
This is Don Mason we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to be sure. I'm always afraid one week you're going to be going, yeah, did I ever tell you about when Don... And I'll just assume that it's Don Mason. Perhaps it's like Don Johansson or something.
You know why Don said he used the Reddi Wip?
I'm sure you're about to tell us.
He said it took away the salty taste.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't.
People want Don Mason on this show.
Lots of people want Don on the show. He's a very, people call Jeff Hardy the charismatic enigma.
Mm-hmm.
I call Don Mason the uncharismatic enigma.
Someone needs to have that gimmick in WWE. The uncharismatic enigma.
Because, he really doesn't have good social skills. He's, we'll go to a concert, and I'll get all rowdy and drunk, and Don will just sit there with arms folded, nodding in approval, while I'm jumping on stage and women are all over me. But, it would be great. When you get him drunk, he can tell some good stories.
How on earth can he afford a horse?
I know. Did I ever tell you about the time Don
Mason.
Don and his grandpa stumbled upon a guy fucking a horse?
Night, kids. Have a good week. We'll see you in 7. Question of the week time. Question of the week here on this 120th episode of WrestleCrap Radio.
If I go on any more of those long diatribes, there won't be a 121st episode.
Comes from fellow crapper Todd G. He writes, Dear Artie and Blade, I've never written to you guys before, but I was wondering if Blade knew if Don had ever been walking with his granddad and stumbled upon anyone making sweet love to an animal. Don, he doesn't say it here, but I would assume he's referring to Don Mason.
No.
If he had, do you think Blade would be interested in regaling us with that tale, or even calling up Don to hear it straight from the horse's mouth? Again, Don Mason we're discussing.
Don Mason, but yeah, like I was telling you a few weeks ago, when I was talking about when Don and his grandpa walked in. Well, actually what it was is Don's grandpa had a friend who had a farm, and they wanted to surprise that friend by just showing up.
I don't want to know. I don't like how this is leading of what kind of surprise they're going to have.
I already told you last week.
Uh-huh.
They showed up. They showed up on the farm and they knocked on the door. And we'll just say Bill, good old friend Bill wasn't inside the house.
Please say that they went to. Please say that the guy's name was Bob.
Okay, Bob. They went to Bob's front door. They knocked. Bob wasn't there. So they went around the side of the shed and into Bob's barn. And Bob was fucking a horse. His horse.
Remember those old commercials? Bob Evans down on the farm. Bob Evans going down on the farm.
Did you ever see the movie Freddy versus Jason?
No.
No?
No!
Not a big Jason fan?
No.
Freddy fan?
No.
Anyway.
I'm familiar with
I don't know.
them. I watched when I was younger, I would watch the original movies.
I don't know if you knew this, but there was actually a Freddy versus Jason movie that came out about 15 years earlier.
That is the rumor that I have heard.
And do you know who was playing the role of Jason back in 1988?
I'm sure you're about to tell me.
Don was.
Your buddy Don. Don Mason.
Yes. And I was playing Freddy. I also played Michael Myers while my friend Corey Diamond stunt doubled for my Freddy Krueger character.
Wow, you even had a stunt double.
Yes, we had to have the Michael Myers cameo in the film. But anyway, you know, what better way to pay tribute to Halloween than by inducting the 1988 version of Jason versus Freddy, filmed by me and Don. But now here's the kicker. When you think of Jason Voorhees, what do you think of, like, in regards to his looks?
He had the hockey mask, right?
Had the hockey mask. He had a big, bulky, like, hunter's suit on and everything, right?
Right.
Looked like he was going hunting. Don, as Jason. Well, he had a mullet, for one thing. Don had a mullet in the 80s, as we all did.
Sure. And Jason was sporting one, too, right?
What?
Nothing. Go ahead.
And he put a bald cap on his head.
Nice.
So the little bit of the mullet was, a 49-cent bald cap from the grocery store aisle. And put the Jason mask on, but the kicker was the outfit. Don's Jason was wearing a polo shirt.
He's very fashionable. Please tell me it had an alligator on it.
It might have had an alligator on it. It was a green polo shirt, which was, to complete the Jason look, was tucked in. But the thing is at some point in his life, Don had attempted to tie-dye that polo shirt.
How on earth can you continue to call this man that would tie-dye a polo shirt the uncharismatic enigma?
But here's the kicker. He had attempted to tie-dye this green polo shirt, but it obviously failed. He messed up, and it did not work. So it was just like this big white splotch on his shoulder. So basically, it was just like a green polo shirt with looked like a big giant white cum stain over his left shoulder. Like the Jolly Green Giant just shot a load on Don Mason. And that was our Jason Voorhees.
Wow.
There's been some things on the forum where people, like, yeah, I love those Don stories. I love those Don stories.
Don Mason.
Yeah.
Don't want to get him confused.
Should I give them another Don story?
Sure. The show's already like 12 hours long, so...